All right, so another thing they do in weddings, where like they find the couple that has been married the longest at the wedding reception by having people sit down in groups based on how long they've been married, right? So I went to, we're going to do that with a different question. Basically, how long have you been at St. Andrews? All right, so first group. If you came after COVID, I mean, I know COVID is and was and never shall be, but like, if you came after we stopped doing regular weekly services on the front lawn, came after that, go ahead and have a seat. There should be a picture of that. So is that on? Good, I can't see. All right, you guys remember that? All right, next one. If you came after we built the expansion, if as far as you know the building has always been that big, go ahead and have a seat. All right, good. If you came after our founding rector, Father Mike, left, that guy was news to you today, go ahead and have a seat. All right, he was also our founding drummer. All right, what about this one? If you came after the first building was built, that tree is that tree. Right? If you came after that, go ahead and have a seat. All right, now those of you who are still standing, worshipped in the YMCA. Right? Yes. I was not here for that, but I think I know how this order goes. If you came during the second YMCA sojourn, have a seat. All right, if you came at the elementary school, so did anybody join at the elementary school? Oh, John did. There are a couple. All right, if you came during the gym days, full gym, I think this is full gym. Oh, this is actually probably free gym, but if you came during the gym days, half a gym or a full gym, either way, have a seat. All right, now, I believe everybody who is still standing worshipped in the aerobics room. And you all counted twice, because this is the same picture, but you can see the full-length mirror. The length of the wall, so made attendance look higher. All right, now everybody sit down except the people who were there at that first public service 20 years ago. There's a whole parable Jesus tells about how God's generosity and grace is not dependent on our length of service. So this little exercise is not to award points, but all the same, thank you. In fact, all the people who are here today were the same people that were there then. St. Andrews would be a failure. The fact that we sat down in those groups, particularly that first group that sat down was so big, that's a sign of mission success. Father Mike used to say this a lot. This is true every step of the way in the church. We build the church for the people who are not in it yet. Speaking of Father Mike, this sermon is going to be more like his length than mine. So y'all get comfy. Our sermon this morning has a title. The title is Attendite, popule. That means in Latin, listen up, people. But it's the Latin first line of the psalm that we read, Psalm 78, which is translated for us as, "Hear my teaching, O my people." And then a few verses later it says, "We will recount to generations to come the praiseworthy deeds and the power of the Lord and the wonderful works that he has done." And that's what I want to do today. I want to tell a story, to recount the works and deeds of the Lord. This story is a Bible story, but it's also our story. St. Andrew's story. And for us, our part of it started 20 years ago in the YMCA, where early on Sunday mornings a pickup truck would pull the trailer to the YMCA. And Father Mike pulled the trailer originally, but it turned out Father Mike was not good at trailers. And so Jim Cleves, who is currently our second oldest member, he soon took over the trailering duty. And then the trailer door would swing down, and God's people would begin doing a thing that they had been doing since the beginning of the biblical story of God's people, they set up a tent. I mean, it wasn't exactly a tent, but there were poles, and there were wires, and there were tapestries, there were vessels and articles for the altar, and every Sunday, first in the aerobics room, and then in half the gym, and then in the whole gym, and then in the elementary school, and then back in the gym, every Sunday they would build a church. Now, in the book of Exodus, God's people did the same thing in their 40 years of wandering in the wilderness. The years between their escape from Egypt and their taking possession of the promised land. Now we talk about those years as the wandering years. We say they wandered, but it wasn't like they were through hiking the Appalachian Trail or something. They stopped and they camped for months or for years at a time. And when they would stop, the Levites would unpack, it wasn't a trailer, but they would they'd unpack the trailer, all the supplies for the tent of meeting, that's what it was called, and then they would build what amounts to a temple in the wilderness. And then when it was time for the Israelites to move, they would take it down, they'd pack it all up again, they'd go to the next place, and they'd build it anew somewhere else. Like our days as a church plant in the YMCA, or our days at Westridge, right? Set up, tear it down. Set up, tear it down. Set up, tear it down. Now, at the time St. Andrews lived like that, especially in the YMCA days, this land we're on today was already ours. The diocese received it under Bishop Stanton's leadership sometime in the mid-1990s. It was ours. But we did not yet have possession of it. Like the Israelites had the promised land, but they were wandering in the desert. We had promised land, but we were wandering up north around Lake Adriatica. It was in Virginia. And then at the prompting of God and the pushing of some very insistent vestry members and lay leaders, it came time to possess the land. Now, Possess the Land was the name of our first capital campaign. This is the brochure. As a campaign idea, it referred to the Israelites' campaign to possess the land that God had promised them. After wandering long enough, they had to go do the hard thing and take the land. Now, I don't want to equate military conquest against impossibly seeming odds to raising money in suburban Texas, but I also know that it took an enormous amount of sacrifice and faith and courage and steadfastness to build there, to take this promised land and make it our land. And we are so grateful to those of you that did this. Now I'm going to jump ahead in the Israelite story a little bit. Though they get possession of the land, they don't ever really get secure in the land, comfortable in the land, until the kingdom of David. And it is David who captures the city of Jerusalem and makes it his capital. And there he begins to build. And he wants to build God a house, a temple, like a good, proper temple made of like stones and timbers and things. But God says no. God says, I'm building you a house, David. You don't need to build me a house. So what God actually allowed David to do was to build David's own house, his palace. The temple was saved for later, the next generation. So I just want you to get this order right in your head. Like, even though David is king, even though the land is well and truly possessed, God's temple is still a tent. It's a tent that doesn't move anymore. It's like not wandering around, but it is not yet permanent. Now, here's the thing I've been told since the moment I set foot in this building over 12 years ago. That building right there, that thing, the Great Hall, that is our house. That's supposed to be the fellowship hall. That's why we call it the Great Hall and not the sanctuary. When we took possession of the land, God let us build our house. We haven't yet had the chance to build God's house. Because just like God had other things for David to do, God has had other things for us to do. And like the tales of David, some of those stories of what God has been up to are amazing and wonderful deeds of God's power. And we are going to really quickly, while I pick those up, we're going to go through 20 years of those stories. And of course, we're going to invariably skip a number of them. And your favorite picture probably isn't in it, but we're going to do the best we can. Really quickly, I encourage you, if you can't see, try and get in a place where you can, and you go through those. To Emmaus with my buddy, just us two disciples. We were talking about something, all things that happened in Jerusalem. This road, walking on with the Lord that I love, Jesus Christ now, resurrected, walking on Emmaus Road. Stranger joined us, shared our idea. Jesus maybe had been the Messiah. Crucifixion seemed the end of that. And that stranger told us, foolish guys you are, Emmaus Road, walking on with the Lord that I love, Jesus Christ now, resurrected, walking on this road. He taught us much in the evening hour. We asked him, why keep going on when you can come eat with us? Breaking apart the bread, we get a feeling that the man before us is Jesus, Jesus. Emmaus Road, walking on with the Lord that I love, Jesus Christ now, resurrected, walking on Emmaus Road. I have two favorite kinds of stories about what God has done. There are ones that are secret and quiet. I don't mean secret like we can't talk about them, but secret is in like they happen in our people's own personal lives, and in that secret place, in that quiet hour, in the stillness you are there, as we sing. Like, I'll just give you an example recently, in the last couple weeks. It's a text message from a son to his father, and that's really something that hasn't always been easy. It's been lots of prayer, lots of tears, but also lots of hard words and anger. And then, like I said, not too long ago, this little act of God pops up as a notification. It's a text message from the son. And it says, if anybody in the world has shown me an example of God's love, it's you. And Father, no matter what I've done in life, no matter how much I've disappointed you, no matter how much I've pissed you off, no matter how much I've embarrassed you, you've shown me unconditional, unending love. Thank you. Your grace is inspiring. I know God is proud of you, and I love you so much. To live sort of life of faith and get that text message. What a gift. You know, and there are hundreds, thousands of these God-filled moments of people's faithful lives, nourished and supported by this place, fed at our altar, being blessed by God. And they're some of my favorites, these secret stories. My other favorite kind of stories are the ones that go with these pictures, which doesn't have a slideshow song. These things are big and loud, and they are celebrated by our whole community. Like, they're the ones the mayor shows up at. These are things that come out of St. Andrew's people, but are not St. Andrew's ministries. They're ministries of St. Andrew's people, not ministries of the church. Things like Burke's, the Bless Mobile, McKinney Little Free Pantry, Believe, Hugs Cafe, Climb. Like, the best way the church transforms the world is when the church's people go out and do the work. This was not pictured, but one of our members was recently in rehab witnessing to an atheist. Like, that's what we're talking about. Like, what we do here is only part of being the church. The other part is what we do out there. And you have changed the face of our city and our community. And if God's done all this with St. Andrews in the last 20 years, imagine what God can do with 20 more years. As we grow, with even more people formed, fed, encouraged in this place, how will this community and the lives of the people who live here be changed? Now, there's some people, actually I think it's reasonable enough to say they're here with us, but there are people who did not stand up or sit down at the beginning, but who are a part of this place and what God has done here. And they are those who have passed from this life into the larger life with our Lord. And this being All Saints Sunday, we're going to take a moment. I invite you to say their names out loud, and then we will have a moment of silence to remember them and give thanks to God for their impact on our lives. Thank you, Lord, for their lives and their witness and their love. Now, in 20 more years, that list will be bigger. The communion of saints in this place, the living and the dead, will have a few more people on the other side of the grave, including some of us. And that's a beautiful thing. It's a holy thing. I want you now to imagine this church in 20 years. I want you to imagine an 8-year-old boy. His parents today are freshmen in high school. They haven't even met each other yet. This 8-year-old likes Kit Kats and soccer, and he likes the virtual reality games where he gets to fly spaceships. And he goes to St. Andrews with his family. And as he's kneeling for the Eucharistic prayer, his mind wanders. You know, it happens sometimes. or 80 probably. But he starts to trace his finger around the little brass plaque that's on the back of the chair in front of him. And the letters are sort of funny shaped. But eventually he figures out what it says. It reads, "Given by Sarah's mother, Pauline Benefiel, to Sarah and Frank McGree." So that 8-year-old little boy, 20 years from now, wonders, who were Sarah and Frank? What did they look like? Were they nice? What did they do for fun when they were 8? Which, though the boy doesn't know that, in Frank's case, will be 102 years from the day he has that bell. And the bell rings at the altar and jolts him out of his daydream. And he looks up at the priest who's elevating the chalice. And the boy can't see it, but that chalice too bears an inscription. It was given in honor of a daughter's baptism. And that daughter is now about 40 and practices law in Austin. And at the very same moment, he's in a church not too far off Lake Travis with her 2 kids and husband. But back to St. Andrews. The green chasuble that the boy watches rise up with the priest's shoulders as she raises the chalice was given in memory of someone else's child who died quite suddenly a couple decades earlier. The boy doesn't know this either, but that child actually rests right outside in the columbarium, just beyond the stained glass window that is casting bread and blue and yellow hues across the family with the 2 toddler girls that sits in front of his. I know this exact story can happen because I know all the people. Because I know Frank and Sarah. I know the daughter and her parents. I was there when we laid the child's ashes in the columbarium. I've seen that chair. I've raised that chalice. I've worn that chasuble. Those people are us. And one day, 20 more years, 30, 40, 50, maybe more, but one day, we who are here today will have retired with one final hope-filled breath to the communion of saints. And we will be the ones who built the place where that 8-year-old boy learns that God forgives him and loves him and always will. And when the Eucharistic prayer is over, he'll go to the altar here and he'll put out his hands to take communion. And you'll hope he gets a triangle piece because it's shaped like a Dorito. And then he'll eat it. And he'll get up and hand in hand with his mom, he will go light a candle for his grandma who is sick. And he'll walk back up the aisle, rubbing his hands along the columns as he goes, and he'll finally return to his seat where he will poke his sister. And making that future come true, friends, is like all we need to do. We built this place for the people that weren't here yet. And we will build this place for the people who aren't here yet. For a generation yet unborn, as our psalm says, that they too will learn the story of God's saving deeds, and then, as we have, they will experience God in their own lives. Now, you may have noticed that the church building, as I described that boy being in, it doesn't exactly match the St. Andrews we have today. That's because we're not done here yet. In the first 20 years, we built our house. Now, it's time for us to build God's house. Early this year, the vestry tasked a committee of lay people called the Vision 20 Committee to imagine, to interview, to study, to dream about what St. Andrews needed as we continue to grow. This is the result of that work, and we are so, so happy to share it with you now. This conceptual design was produced by 5G Architects, the architects of our existing building. Yen Ong, a founding partner of the firm, is here with his wife. Will you wave for us? He has done great work. It aims to address the biggest needs identified as we talk to ministry leaders, to staff, and to clergy, namely a bigger sanctuary. It's almost twice as big, seating 400 people. That's the God's house part. Right? A larger and more functional gathering, a narthex space made out of the existing Great Hall. That is the Our House part. And more classrooms and meeting spaces in a variety of sizes. Now, this work is not finished. There is much left to do in the design stage. We need many of you who work and serve and lead these ministries that we fill this space with to share your input in the final results. We are excited for your questions, for your ideas, for your skills, and for your hopes as we continue to refine this project. But the Vision 20 Committee, again, have taken an enormous step on our behalf, identifying what we need and working in our limits to find the best basic shape to get us there. And now we have something to work from. In any case, this will be a reach. A step, an act of faith. We expect it is a $3.5 to $4 million project. We would like to start construction next year, God willing. It is roughly a year-long construction project. Naturally, there is much, much more to come. Today, though, you will be able to see these renderings in elevations in the Great Hall and in Mickey Hall. There's some big posters there. We also have a 3D model of the proposed complete campus, complete for this stage, completed campus in the narthex. The members of the Vision 20 Committee are Eric Austin, Laura Verinder, Shannon Frink, Mo Fry, Will Abraham, Sid Verinder, and Paul Miles. They're wearing blue shirts. You can see Laura and Shannon back there. Sid. They have the basic outline of the building across the front. I hope you will ask them lots of questions today. Also, I hope you'll say thank you. They have worked very hard with creativity and with faith and with hope on our behalf. On the back of their blue shirts, it says, "Stretching out our arms of love." Because the way this new sanctuary will stretch out our campus. But that line is borrowed from a prayer for mission in the Book of Common Prayer. You can read a little bit more about that in these brochures that are currently buried under the stage, so you couldn't find them early. We'll pass them out after the service. But I bet even before you read it, you probably get the idea. This is about our stretching out for mission. Stretching out in love to grow our ministry in this place. That more people will have their lives changed. So that the next Hugs or McKinney Little Free Pantry can take shape in the heart and mind of someone worshiping in these pews. And so that 8-year-old boy will come to know Jesus here. And I put it that way because when I was interviewed to be the associate rector at St. Andrews, I asked the interview team what they thought I should know about St. Andrews. And my now friend Mo Fry said this. He said, "I know that my kids will come to know Jesus here." And I was sold. We will keep doing that here. We will tell this story, our story, which is also a little piece of God's story. We will recount to generations to come the praiseworthy deeds of the power of the Lord, the wonderful works he has done. The generations to come might know, and the children yet unborn, that they, in their turn, might tell it to their children, so that they will put their trust in God. Amen. Amen.